Good morning, traders. Check 2, 3. I think we're good to go. All right. I hope everybody did well yesterday. It was kind of an average day for me. I was able to make a little bit of money during the live stream, and then I made some more later on in the day. I think I ended the day around $500, $450. I can't remember exactly, but it was not a bad day. Trading was fairly normal, and today is shaping up to be a pretty decent day as well, as I'm looking from the point of the news at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, right over here. We've been moving up in a very systematic way, higher lows. We'll see how that holds up after the market open. If you've ever tuned into the channel before, you know that I usually don't take a trade for the first 10 minutes or so just to let things settle down. Similar to this, I did not trade the news just because I wouldn't even begin to know what to do. For instance, you might take the approach that after a spike from the news, you could take a 50% retracement and then move up. That would have worked. Put our Fibonacci's on there. So we went from here to there. So 50% retracement was around here. That was pretty close. Just wicked through it and then take it back up to the first Fibonacci line here, first retracement. And that worked out pretty well for you. But then if you decided to get greedy, you would have got wrecked. Not for me, but I just pointed out because maybe that is something that people might do. And even this, now same thing. We had this big drop here, and then we also had a retracement of it. Now this guy did not reverse. Came back to the 50, chopped around a little bit, continued on its way. Had a little bit of pullback, but not enough to make it a valid trade for me, at least. So I don't find those reliable enough. And it's so easy to get wrecked. I mean, look at these violent moves. I mean, that can be an entire account breaker if you go in too heavy. Maybe you could fool around with micros if you don't mind losing a little bit. Because, like this, if you misjudge this, that's a 17.5 point move, 875. Now, if on micros, 1 micro, that's 87.50. Not the end of the world. And, you had a little fun with it. But, if you only pick up a couple points, you could end up making $12 or something. So, for me, it's not worth it. But, if you're practicing or if you just want to fool around, you're trying to keep yourself from doing something stupid, so you go ahead and fulfill your desires with micros. What the hell? All right, market's going to open in a couple minutes, a little over a minute, and we'll see what we can get today. We'll be here live for about an hour and a half till 11 Eastern. While we're waiting for the market open, I wish you'd take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and even hit that bell icon so then you'll be alerted whenever I'm going to go live. We're usually here Monday through Friday from 9:30 Eastern till 11 o'clock Eastern. I'll usually start the stream 5 or 10 minutes before the market opens. Sometimes you have to be a little patient with me to get things going. Market's about to open. All right, and they're off. Just a reminder that I am trading funded accounts from Apex Trader Funding. I've found them to be very reliable, very trustworthy, make their payouts as promised. If you'd like to try your hand at it, they're having an 80% off sale for the life of your evaluation account. Meaning if you don't get it, if you don't reach your goal in the first month, when it renews next month, it'll still be at 80% and continue for that forever. If you use my code there, it won't cost you any more, but it contributes a little something to the stream. So if you want to use it, the code is KOWAAPXK. Just throw that in. There's a place when you go to sign up where it says code or something along those lines, discount code or something, and put it in there, and you've instantly donated a little something to the channel without costing yourself anything. All right, let's start watching this market. We won't take a trade for a little bit, but we need to get our bearings. Right now, we're looking like we have a generally bullish trend going up. The initial response to the news at 8:30 Eastern was positive, but you can see that immediately reversed. But now we're heading back towards the top of that 8:30 spike. Throw some trend lines up here to see if we have anything obvious. And see, we've broken out of this trend that formed around 8:40. These times at the bottom are actually in Central, just because I'm in Central time. I'm in the Chicago area, and but I'll try to refer to all times in Eastern time just to have sort of a standard to go by, because that is where the New York Stock Exchange is, obviously Eastern time zone. This is kind of erratic price action to my eye. I don't get a beat on it right now. I personally prefer to wait till things start to get into a nice trending rhythm, whether up or down, and then we can make some decisions based on that. Right now, it's difficult for me to even spot a trend line. That looks pretty good, but we've already broken out of it. Yeah, that fits nicely. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lots of hits here. And then we've got a couple hits at the top. But you can see we've already broken out. It failed. We're back into the range. So let's keep watching it and see if we can get an idea of what direction we're going to go. You can see that we're trading above the 105 EMA, but we're still below the 20 and the 9. This to me is kind of a no trade zone, just because to me those are conflicting indicators. Below the 9 and the 20, I would be inclined to go short, but above the 105, I'm inclined to go long. So in here, I stay out for now. But we can see the 9 and the 21 are starting to slope down. We have this big arc of the EMAs. So does that mean that we're going to start continuing down? I don't know. My gut is that that is the case, but that doesn't mean much. This trend line's still holding up. Typically, if we have a breakout of a trend like this, we'd be looking for a new high before we reverse. This song sounds like it's out of a video game like Super Mario or something. All right, we're dumping here, aren't we? That's a pretty strong bearish bar. Wow, it's just chopping around. Look at the size of this. 24.17. Wow. That looks way bigger than it is, isn't it? It's only 7 points. It's a good sized bar. But this is basically why I don't like to trade the first 10 minutes, because it does, it's a little bit erratic. It really doesn't give me a good rhythm. This looks very hard to interpret right now. I'm going to take a quick look over at the 2000 tick. Whoops. Let's fix that. That's a 2000 tick. Is that helping us? I don't know. No, that looks about the same. A little more rhythmic, maybe. Pivot point here, which could end up being resistance. Support, and cause a bounce off of it. A lot of bars here piled up. That pivot point is at 4,015. That's here. Throw a bar up there. Using my Apex trade copier, I'm trading 2 of my 13 accounts. Not all of them are PAs. Today I'm going to trade 2, 1 PA and 1 eval that I'm working on. And the way we do that is, and this will be, might be a good video, even though there's probably others out there. With the trade copier, you start with a what they call a leader account, and that can be any account you want, and then whatever you do with that account, it copies onto any accounts that you've chosen to duplicate. What I usually do is I have my leader account as just a sim account. You can create as many sim accounts as you want in NinjaTrader, and that becomes your leader account. And then you can just go over your little trade copier window, and it shows you all your accounts that you have available to you, and you just click on the ones that you want to attach to that sim account. So that's what I've done today. I've chosen 2 accounts that I want to work on, and when I take a trade on my sim account, it automatically places that trade onto the live accounts. It's a great tool. It does cost $150, but all these numbers mean nothing once you become a a profitable trader, in my opinion. I mean, I get why when you're starting, maybe money's tight, but once you finish your education and become a profitable trader, you won't think twice about spending $150 on something like a trade copier, in my opinion. At least I didn't. But there's not a lot of point in using a trade copier until you're a profitable trader, because you're just going to wreck accounts at multiples. So, you trade onto 5 accounts and you blow up your leader account. Well, you've just blown up everything attached to it too. All right, this is respecting this trend pretty well. Let's see if we were to move this down to here. How's that look? So then that sort of creates the midline as the bottom of this. So it's sort of a double-decker trend here. We've got this main trend and then this trend. And the reason I tend to say that is because this breakout should have led us to a new high, which it did not, at least not yet. But it may get there. And then it came back and made even a lower low here. So this could be the actual trend. We'll see. I mean, heck, for that case, you can go all the way up to here. But that doesn't line up the middle line very well here. So I think this was probably correct. All right, things are starting to settle down now, so now we'll start paying attention for possible trades. Lost our music. Oh, I'll get it back. Stand by. All right, so now we are breaking out to the upside. And we'll see if we make a new high. Here was the open at 8:30. This is the high of the day since the New York open at 9:30 Eastern. We've just broken it. Now this is our new high of the day. Not since the overnight, obviously. This green line way up here, that's the overnight high. That was between 6 p.m. Eastern last evening and now. But obviously this is where we opened at 9:30 Eastern with the New York. I'm still here. I'm just working on the music. Yeah, we're still thrashing around here pretty good. 5 minute looks pretty. Man, look at the wicks on these 5 minute bars. I mean, those are borderline dojis on the 5 minutes. I'll be right back. I need to do something to get this music back on. Hang on for 1 second. All right, I apologize. I am back, and so is the music. All right, let's see. Where were we here? Well, this could have been a valid trade. Something along those lines, and then when it broke here, we could have taken this short here. I think I'm going to try to wait a little bit. All these EMAs are starting to pile up on each other. I'd like to get some separation between the 105 and this 9 and 21. They're just piled up right on top of each other, so that does not give me a clear direction. Once we can start to pull the 9 and the 21 down below the 105 or above it, then we can make some rational decisions about which way to take a trade. These huge wicks are just a bunch of indecision. I mean, look at this on the 5 minute. Basically, the first 20 minutes, the first 5 bars here are borderline doji, and this one right here is absolutely a doji. It closed exactly where it opened after moving around 29 to 17, 10 points here. 10 points. One small piece of advice I can give any new traders is to don't worry about it if you don't get a trade in the morning. Your best times for trading, I believe, are from the market open at 9:30 Eastern until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Eastern. And if you don't happen to get a trade in that time, go ahead and enjoy your life. Go do something else, because the market never ends. You can come back tomorrow and take your trades. May seem obvious, but I know when I just started, it's all you wanted to do is keep taking trades. And God forbid if you had gone negative for the day, then you're trying to revenge trade back to get your money back. So it just is a vicious cycle. There'll be days where you'll make quite a bit of money, and that makes up for the days that you didn't take trades. Because in here, it would be, to me, is just throwing a dart. This wouldn't have been a complete random trade, but I don't find these tops to be super reliable. It could have blasted right through it, but that does give us an idea of where we're going from here. Perhaps if we bounce here and then we continue on down, because this is an M pattern. First leg, second leg of the M. So now do we continue down to finish this M? We'll see. Now, if we were to pull back to this 9, I would consider that trade possibly. The only thing that I don't like about it is that we have all these hits on this top. We've already had 4 hits in this general area here. What kind of space do we have here if we were to take a long? Not a lot of room there. We would, to get our 5 points, we would be looking for new highs. Is this a good enough pullback? I mean, it seems a little too immediate to me. What I like to see is after a bullish run, then we have a nice casual 3, 4, 5 bar pullback to the 9 EMA before we start thinking about going long. This could very well just be a big trading range right now, which means that we would be going long very close to the top of that range. So now what this trade would be looking like is going long at 26 even. We'd have to wait for that bar to finish. See, now we're even higher. So if we took that trade, 26 3/4, this bar's got 10 seconds left. But then we would need this to go all the way to 31, which is way up here to get our 5 points. I don't like the size of this bar. That's a 26, 23, 3-point bar. That's not that bad. All right, well, 26 3/4. So let's go long 26 3/4. And we may bail on this before we get to our 5 points. We may try to get just a couple points up into this range here. And if this thing still continues to get bearish, we're just going to bail on it. But you can see they are bouncing off of these EMAs. So we're going to see if... I find that in a range, it doesn't pay any attention to these EMAs. So if we get some kind of decent reaction to these EMAs, maybe we're not actually in a range. Maybe we are in an uptrend that looks more like this. But we don't know yet. This failed to reach the high of this, so that may indicate a range. Now we can move this down now to 26 even and see what happens. Either way, we'll take a 3-point stop, which actually probably I would just put it below whatever the bottom of these wicks turn out to be. Starting to kind of chop around here, but we'll go ahead and take this trade and take our punishment if we're wrong. Yeah, this is... I'm going to take that off because this looks like this is starting to break down. We're not getting the reaction that we had hoped to these EMAs, in my opinion. I used to blindly just trade EMAs, touches the 20, and then I go long, and you can see how fast that can blow up on you. So now I'm a lot more patient to look for rejection, and just throwing a simple line here along this trend here can help keep you out of the trade. I would have been more inclined to take this trade if this bar would have broken this trend line right here, but now we're just starting to ride that thing down. We're below the 21 EMA now, and now we're heading below the 105 EMA, so this could very well have been this M pattern that we just talked about. Up, down, up, down. It's not too much trouble. I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. I'm trying to build this channel up slowly but surely. And also hit that bell icon if you want to be notified in the morning when I go live. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of this. I mean, this was a nice rejection of the 105 EMA. Maybe we have these wicks are so long that it's hard to have a good trend line. Maybe that's our trend line there. Or our channel, I should say. And now we've broken this, so we could have taken this long here, I suppose. This is not what I would call a textbook trade, though. So we'll wait for the next one. I like this 9 EMA trade where we wait for a pullback. And these were lower highs on each of these bars. This is a lower high. This is a lower high, lower high, lower high. And then we would have just gone long above this bar. And that turned out to be pretty good. But this is what threw me off, is this long bearish bar that broke below the 105 EMA. I was worried that this was just going to be a reversal and head down, or at the very least it was going to go to the bottom of this range here. And this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th touch on this recent swing high. This was at 9 a.m. Eastern, and since then we've had a hard time breaking through it. So we're getting sort of a wedge forming here between this line and this line here. Wow. As it turns out, we would have done very well on that trade right here. It's not a bad setup. It's just the EMAs threw me off, because when it broke that hard, I thought maybe we were continuing down, but if we would have went So that long would have triggered on this side of this trend line, and that works pretty well. When we break this, we're usually good for some points. I don't think we would have made 5 points here, though. Yeah, actually, look at that. That would have made the 5 points easily. Yeah, that wouldn't have been bad. I'm just sort of reflecting on that trade. If we would have got in here at 25.50, put our stop here at 21.50. That's a 4-point stop loss. It's a little bit heavier than I would like, but that would have been where I think that the stop loss needed to be. And then we would have got our 5 points. So that would have been a little better than a 1-to-1. But if you want to have a set stop loss on every trade of, say, 3 points with a 5-point take profit, that's fine too. I just think that you'll increase your win rate by having the little bit deeper stop loss to a certain degree. I wouldn't want it to be less than a 1-to-1 profit to loss ratio. I don't want my risk to be more than or less than 1-to-1, I should say. So I wouldn't want a 10-point stop loss with a 5-point take profit, for instance. That trade, I would definitely either take a fixed 3-point stop or just skip the trade altogether, because the so-called signal bar, I guess you would call it, is too long. It's too big. I'm going to readjust these charts in the future. I've wasted way too much real estate on these 3 charts, well, especially the 5-minute chart, because we only glance over at that for perspective. But we don't need to devote half the screen to it, so I will readjust those later. I don't even know if half the time I don't even look at the NQ. NQ is the NASDAQ. Sometimes it's helpful to look over at the NASDAQ, because sometimes it may lead the ES in a direction, but it can also be the opposite. Sometimes the ES leads the NASDAQ. The ES has such more liquidity, so much more volume than the NASDAQ. I would say that the ES tends to lead it, but I kind of like to have it up here. Plus, I used to trade the NASDAQ exclusively, and I just changed over to ES because I think it's an easier trading vehicle. Even though you can almost place them over each other and they look exactly the same, the NASDAQ, the move is worth more money from a dollar point of view, so you get thrashed around from a dollar point of view pretty violently. All right, so we had this set up again. It really is for that 9 EMA strategy to work consistently. I find that you need to have a little more daylight. You can see that this basically is just riding the 9. If we would have had nice bullish trend up, pull back to it, lots of space between the price action and the 9, then this works more effectively. But we definitely look like we are trending up, doesn't it? Although on the 5-minute, it's just basically a V bottom here and still holding this high here. You can see this big wick on the 5-minute rejected this line here. another pivot point here that it's fighting with. This is the 2000 tick chart. It can give you a different perspective on the price action because these bars don't advance until 2000 ticks have transpired inside of them of trading. So that's why the bars are somewhat similar size, because it's not time limit. There's no time limit on each bar. If you watch this thing overnight, it could spend 20 minutes forming one bar. But you can see that this, when you look at it in the 2000 tick, we're basically just bar coding. And I suspect that this resistance line here, this pivot point, is holding it up. So we'll have to see which way it breaks. Right now, we certainly have a bullish trend forming here. It's conforming to this, right? We have got 1, 2, 3 hits on the bottom, 2 hits on the top. My instinct is that this is eventually going to break to the upside and revisit the top of this trend, but we'll have to see. Let's get rid of some of these lines. Getting pretty cluttered here. I hesitate to get rid of some of these trends only because they frequently come into play, can come into play later on. If this were to break down, it will likely, the top of this channel will end up being support. This green line here is the overnight high. This occurred somewhere between 6 p.m. Eastern and now. We can go back and look at what that was. That actually was not that. I mean, it occurred on the news at 8:30 Eastern. And previously it would have been back here at 20, that's 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern. So going along into that is inadvisable, I think. So now this is both this is the high of the day and from the overnight. This is where we opened today. So this is a high in every definition from last night till now. Last night's open was way down here at this yellow or amber colored line, this dash line. And this was the low from overnight. And we can see this morning's low is right here. Hitting up against this bottom of the channel again, but it failed to reach the top of the channel, even though we are still trending up. What does this line look like here? Yeah. Are we forming a new channel? I don't know. Again, in my mind, this is a no man's land, just because the conflict in my mind is that I like longs above the 100, and I like shorts below the 20. So those are fighting with each other in my mind. So I won't be taking a trade in there. But we'll watch to see if this unfolds. You know, if we get a nice drop down, and then we'll be waiting for a pullback to go short.
Any ideas?
So now we've got a breakout. The price action traders would suggest that once we have a breakout of a trend, we'd be looking for a new high before reversing. But what they fail to tell you is they don't have any idea of how far down it's going to go before it makes that new high. So I kind of ignore that, only because you can still take some trades when it breaks. You don't have to wait until... I think that their suggestion would be, once it breaks here, now we wait and see if it gets a new high before we get our reversal. And that could take a very long time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and hit the little bell icon to get notifications when I go live in the morning. Also, don't forget, up on the screen you see that you can trade Apex like I do with a funded account. That's going to reduce your risk. I wouldn't recommend using your own money if you're a new trader, because I can tell you, you will lose it. But if you sign up with a company like Apex with this 80% off sale, it's something like $37 or something a month, and you can trade to your little heart's desire, and you'll never lose more than your monthly fee. And if you are successful, you're only limited by your own abilities. And if you use my code there, I get a little kickback to help support the channel, but it doesn't cost you anymore. Well, just sitting on my hands right now, waiting for something obvious. That's probably the hardest thing about learning how to trade, is to not trade, because you want to constantly be getting in and out of the market, and that's fun. And if you're on a sim account, or even on a evaluation account where your risk is limited, it's okay. Go ahead, take trades. You'll add to your screen time and learn what trades not to take just by trial and error, but you'll get bored of that eventually and want to only take good trades, because losers are painful. I don't care how long you've done this. I mean, I can't imagine the thousands and thousands and thousands of trades I've taken, and it still hurts to lose anything. I hate to see red on the P&L for the day. And frankly, there's no reason you should be able to finish every day green. I'm not saying every trade, but there is no reason that you should end a day red. And the only thing that would cause that is psychological, because that's the most important part of trading, is getting your psychology and under control. I start getting just frenzied. I get tired. That's why I usually try to cut things off by 11 o'clock Eastern, just because I start to get tired and just start flailing around and trading like a drunken monkey and just going in and out, in and out. So each trader has to find their own path, I guess. Yeah, so right now we're just trading right around these EMAs, which to me is sort of a neutral area. That's where price wants to be. So there's no true bias to the upside or downside. So it's truly gambling to take a trade here, in my opinion, because you'll guess it's going up, and you might be right, but you have a 50-50 chance of being wrong as well. Even this whole trading morning, we still have a bit of a bullish bias, but it certainly isn't overwhelming, is it? I did take a trade earlier today before the market opened. You can see my hash marks here. It was a quick, I think it was something like, let's see, 6 ticks. So I had 2 contracts. Right here it is. And after, that was $150 before commissions, 71.02 times 2, so $142 right here. And that was the typical pullback to the 9 EMA. Went short on this doji, picked up 6 ticks, sorry. Did I just see this thing take off on us? No. I swear I saw this thing from the corner of my eye shoot up. Yeah, this is still a no trade zone for me. But heck, I mean, that was $142 net. I mean, that's a nice little supplemental income. Wow, look at now it is breaking down for us. 142 times 245 days, that's $35,000 a year. Nice little side hustle, and that was done before most people wake up. All right, so now maybe we can wait for a setup here. So ideally what I'd like to see is these EMAs here, the 9 and the 21, start to break below the 105, and then price action start to pull back to them, and then we'll be looking for a short perhaps. Still keeping in the back of my mind that we may just be in this big old trading range. I don't like the way that looks. Let's use our rectangle here. So, I mean, this could be our trading range right here. It's a big one for sure, but if you're hoping to go short at the bottom of it, hoping for a breakout, that's less likely to work for you. I don't think that was a weird time for news, so I don't think there's news. Yeah, I wish these lower EMAs were, the 9 and the 21 were below the 105, that would help. It's not an impossible trade. I mean, it could work. So the idea here is we would wait until it broke below this little trend line, this very short-term trend line. Is it worth a try? Right now, it hasn't even touched the 9, so once we touch the 9, I guess that's a touch. Lower, so we would go 22.50 would be our short. So that'd be like 17.50. Got 4 seconds left on this candle. 22.50. I'm going to take that short. We'll see how it goes. Whoa, I don't have my stop here. $22.50. Not sure why my stop didn't trigger. I'm going to hold off on pulling my stop down just because we've hit this 20 EMA. This is obviously not going our direction, but we'll see. Hopefully this 20 EMA holds. And that's the problem with going when these EMAs are above the 105. It's a little less reliable. Once this thing, if it starts to get going, then I'll pull my stop down to a tick above this green bar here. But right now we're still negative on this trade. I'm still optimistic. I think I will go ahead and move my stop maybe to 26.75. That's still a pretty big loss if we get hit, but you have to. This could rocket back all the way up to the top again. If this was going to work, it should have already shot down. I'm going to take my loss on this if it triggers. Getting hung up on that, excuse me, 105 EMA. Doesn't want to break through it. I think we're going to get stopped out. And it may just reverse and go exactly where we thought it was, but I've been burned too many times by just hoping for the best. There'll be another trade if this one gets stopped out. Tempted to skunk this trade if we get anywhere near our break even, just because it's not going the way we had hoped. Boy, this just got caught up in here. I should know better. These EMAs were not separated enough for this trade. That's what I did wrong, I think, is these are too bunched up to make a reliable trade. Let's skunk out of this if we can. Try to get out break even if possible. I hate this trade. I hate how choppy it's gotten here. We're in this trade at 22.50, so 21.25. That would be a point. Yeah, it's going to stop us out, isn't it? Damn. All right, clear all this. All right, that was a loser. We lost about 4 points on that. But the mistake on that trade was getting too anxious and taking a trade when all these are bunched up. And not only that, the 21 and the 9 EMA were above the 105 in the first place. So doesn't mean we're not going to go down, but you can see how unreliable it is when these EMAs get all bunched together like that. So now we just take a breath and we wait for the next trade. And of course, what's likely to happen is stops us out and then just heads straight down. But I've had plenty of times where I've blown up accounts just by I keep moving my stop, and this thing will just keep going up. So that is a big loser. Moving on. Yeah, look at that. Son of a gun. But that was already a bigger stop than I would have liked to have taken. That was something like 4 points. Yeah, that was 4.25 points. That was a bigger stop than I would have liked to take, but you can see basically top ticket and away down we go. I should have just left the stop at 3 points, I suppose, but look at that. And now we're going to go down, I bet. We're basically at break even right now. And down we go. Son of a gun. So this recent swing low is basically would have been our 5-point profit. And it's playing out exactly as we had hoped. Unfortunately, it stopped us out before it went. And that I attribute to these all being bunched up. Now, if we get a nice swing low and a pullback to this 9, I'd be inclined to go short again. Things have really slowed down here. Even just the entire range from 8:30 is what through 4:33 to about a 50-point range. Is that right? No. 20 points. Am I saying 50? Yeah, like 20 points is the whole morning range. That's crazy. Yeah, there's 8:30, so yeah. 18, 20 points. That's a tight trading range, boy. Well, this is a bit of a pullback, but this bar's kind of big. 21 EMA, still a bit high. I'd like to see this thing have gone down a little bit further. If we were going to go short here, it would have been, it will be at 20.5. Yep. That bar would have had to close, though. It's not closed till now. So now we'd have to go short below this huge bar here. That is a lower low. So as if we get a pullback to, like, say, the 21. I don't like how this bar spiked up here, though, because now we don't have a series of lower lows. We've got this sort of outlier here before we continued down. We are getting very close to the lows of the day here. This is the 2000 tick. Boy, doesn't that kill you? Look at that. We're taken out by a tick, and it went exactly the way that we had hoped. Oh, that hurts. Would have liked to see it just blast up and give me a reason to get out of that trade. But where I ended up putting my stop loss was a tick above the previous high bars. Turns out those were not the highs. I'm not sure what it chose as its high. Now maybe we'll be waiting to find a pullback. Now we are 20 and our 9 EMA are clearly below the 105, so now we can think about if it were to pull back to the 21, at least that gives us a reasonable pullback as opposed to what it's doing now is just riding along this 9 EMA. So I'm hesitant to take a short here. Plus we have the lows of the day. So we'll wait. And look at that. If I just wouldn't have gotten stopped out, I would have been rolling here. We have new lows on the day. If I'm not mistaken, this line here was a pivot point. Yep, there it is on the 2000 tick. That's a pivot point. So maybe we'll get a bounce off of that for a pullback. Nope, looks like it's going to ignore it. This is good though, because this will give us a possible opportunity for a pullback. These are likely to be resistance here. Be nice to have a pullback before we got there, though. This may be a good opportunity. We'll see. We're starting to build some nice distance between the 9 and the 21. So we're hoping for a pullback, an orderly pullback to the 9. You see this blue area here that I've drawn out is these bottoms here from early this morning at 8:30 Eastern. Likely to be support. And I hate doing this to myself, but this trade here, I mean, we're already at 10 points on that. But that's what they do. They hunt these stops here, and when they get them all, when I say they, I'm talking about the big institutions. They'll hunt these stops that they know people have put up in here at these tops of these bars, and they'll wick through them, and then down you come. And they'll take it exactly where you thought they were going to take it. All right, this is possibly a setup coming up. We'll see if this pulls back in an orderly fashion, meaning a series of higher highs on these bars. But this may be such a bear trend now that it doesn't even give you a decent pullback to get in. Yeah, it never even pulled back enough to get in. I mean, it's a strong enough downtrend that I suppose you could just enter anywhere, but we're getting pretty close to the bottom. And we did take a loss, so that's where we are this morning. Now we're waiting for a decent pullback still. Wow, it broke right through that earlier resistance here. Next area, oh wow, we already went to that was the overnight open. Yeah, that's a pretty strong downtrend, boy. Well, still looking for a way to get in on this downtrend. Even though we were in on it way over here. Eventually we will have a pullback. As I said, this amber dash line here, that is the overnight open, and this is the overnight low, this red dashed line. All right, maybe we're getting a pullback here. Hopefully it's big enough to take advantage of. lot of demand down here from this area here. There's definitely demand here, so hoping that we don't get a reversal in this area. Still haven't even touched the 9 EMA. This is a much cleaner chart on the 2000 tick. Could have gone short right here. Interesting. Right now, the big banks are figuring out a way to trap you one way or the other. Trying to lure you in and then take it the opposite direction. In a case like this where it just ran down so hard, I probably should have just taken advantage of any way to get short, even when it got pulled up into this area and just even got close to the 9. Probably should have just gone ahead and take it short, because it's showing no sign of reversing. Eventually, I believe we will get a pullback to this 21 EMA, because it does not like to get that far away from it. There's always it's like a magnet, pulls it back to this average, and then maybe we'll have an opportunity to go short. Right now it's just hugging this 9 too tightly to be reliable, and I really don't want to get into another bad trade. Now, I left this channel on from earlier today. It wasn't a great channel anyway, but I left it on there, so we'll see if it comes into any kind of play with this. If it touches the bottom, and then we get a pullback, maybe. We've only got about 10 minutes left in this stream, so we may or may not get into a trade. If I end up getting into a trade before 11 Eastern, before we end the stream, I'll run it a little bit longer just to let it play out, unless it gets too time consuming. So we're getting a bit of a pullback here. Let's see if it's decent enough to take a trade off of. Ideally, I think I'd like to see it get up into this 21 EMA area, which coincides with this area of liquidity produced by this swing low here. We just don't know if this downtrend has played out or not. It's a strong downtrend, boy. You're not getting any pullbacks to speak of. I don't even see, there's definitely no second entries. Yeah, this is just, it's a shame. If we could have avoided this getting stopped out up here, boy, we would have just been golden. Have you noticed I'm fixated on that trade? Maybe we hit the bottom of this trend line, pull back. I'd like to see a pullback to that 21 EMA. I mean, it's inevitable. It's just, how long is it going to take? Well, that's a lesson learned on this trade here, is that they will come back to try to get your stops, but you still have to place them there because it's no guarantee. I mean, we had a suspicion they were going to take it down based on this activity, this big red bar, pull back, and then head down. But they waited to trap a bunch of people in here, take their stops, and then continue down. So where do you put your stop? I mean, it's usually from the swing high. You put it a tick above it and hope for the best. Now we could have moved it up to like the bottom of this range here, and that would have saved us, but it would have cost us an extra couple ticks if it did stop us out, and we already lost a pretty good amount on that. That was 4 points or something, over 4 points. That's a big loss. And rule of thumb is you'd rather not lose more on a trade than you're likely to be able to get. So if we're shooting for 5 points, you certainly wouldn't want to have a stop bigger than 5 points, because now we can make that back. There's no question we can make that back with one trade if we're patient. But if you let it get too out of hand, we go down $500, $600, $700, $800, it's much harder to get that money back. This is a decent pullback forming here. Got a little bit of room in here. But do we wait till we get to the 21 or do we take it at the 9? That's the question. Because of how long this has been coming down, I'm tempted to wait till it gets to the 21. Now, right now, we could be inclined to take a short at, now we're looking at this as 4,000. That's a big round number, too. Might be hard to break through that. That'd be 4,050 right there. Now the problem here is if this triggers for me, I'm going to need my stop to be above this 21 EMA because a pullback is going to go up to there in reverse anyway. But this is such a strong downward trend. I'm going to go ahead and take this trade. And we'll see what happens. It may be our second loser of the day. But you can't worry about that. You just take the trades that are in front of you, and if this turned out to be a loser, I would be definitely done for the day. I won't trade anymore. So this might work its way up to the 21 EMA, which is fine. We'll keep moving our sell price below the closed bar. We're in this trade. Damn, why didn't my thingy show up? So 2, 5. Probably should have been more patient and waited till it hit the 21. Let's move this out of our way for a second. I think we'll go, if we hit this 21, I think I'll take a second contract. I'll stay with the stream until this trade plays out one way or another. Right now I've set my take profit at a tick above the bottom, the low of the day. Let's see if we'll watch it. I've moved my stop to break even just in case this thing decides to reverse In fact, I think I'm going to get out here. And that puts us positive on the day at least, because we are at the end of our trading day here. And that's where we ended up today. So what is that? 134 plus 63 plus 71. Oops. 134 plus 63 plus 71. 268. $268 ish. Ah, look at that. That's lack of patience right there, just because I'm at the end of the stream and I saw my P&L go green for the day. That was a beautiful trade. Damn. Whatever. And we're still going. Son of a gun. Patience. Patience. That's $1,000 trade. So that was an extra. Well, we had our stop there, so that was an extra 137, but it was good for $400 per contract. We had 2 contracts, $800 more than we already got out of it. P&L, playing the P&L. Anyway, guys, that is it for me. If you found any enjoyment from this stream, please subscribe. Hit the like button and hit that bell icon if you want to be notified when I go live in the mornings. Also, check out Apex Trader Funding. Use my code for 80% off lifetime. All right. Thanks very much. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.